Hello and welcome to Tukris Homestead. Today we were actually walking through the forest and we came across this beautiful looking mushroom right here, the Scarlet Elf Cup, Sarcoscypha coccinea scientifically, or Sarcoscypha austriaca. The reason I'm giving two different scientific names is that they're actually two different distinct species that cannot be differentiated macroscopically. You'd have to look at the spores that are being produced here in the scarlet red area under a microscope to differentiate which species it actually is. For foraging purposes, it doesn't really make too much of a difference, as both species can be used the same way. They're both edible. However, they're extremely rare in some areas. In some regions, they're actually on the list of critically endangered species. However, you can see that sometimes they pop up in huge numbers, like right here. There are many individuals right around here. So I'd like to talk a little bit about this mushroom, what makes it interesting, and how you can use it if you want to use it. So I took one out here, as you can see. Scarlet Elf Cup is actually quite a well-fitting name, I think. As you can see, it's easily identified because of the scarlet red inside and cup, because it actually looks a little bit like a cup. Some mushrooms have quite a stem, so to say. Basically, it makes it look more like a cup. Scarlet Elf Cup because in folklore people said that elves would actually come by and drink the dew that had collected, or the raindrops that had collected inside of these mushrooms in the morning, and this is how they would get refreshment, so to say. So this mushroom is actually quite interesting because it is, so to say, the mushroom that comes between the winter mushrooms like oyster mushrooms and the spring mushrooms like morels. So as you might be able to tell, it's quite cold today. It's because it's actually late February, and this is the time that you can usually find the Scarlet Elf Cup. It is usually found somewhat between early February till early April, sometimes even as early as late January sometimes. And as you can see around me here, it's a saprobiontic mushroom, meaning it actually helps decompose dead matter. This is why you will mostly find it like here on dead matter, fallen branches, usually covered in moss, like right here. So this is the one that I took out. As you can see, has this classic really dark red coloration. Here it kind of turns more into a little bit of an orange around the edge and gets whiter and whiter towards the stem. Here on this side you can see the old one that I was talking about before. It's already starting to break. This is how you see. It's an older mushroom. Still, it would be perfectly edible. So you can see they can appear quite in big numbers. And the great thing about this mushroom is that it can actually be found in Europe as well as in Northern America. Almost, as far as I know, on the entire Paleoarctic area. I'm leaving this one here. I'm not collecting them for food today. I'm just leaving them here so they can actually spore and spread more. As they are quite rare, I've decided to just leave them here and just admire them from a distance. They can get up to around 5 centimeters in diameter, but usually they stay around this size, somewhat between 2 to 3 centimeters. Alright, so in terms of edibility, like I've said before, they're actually quite rare. So I would not recommend collecting them. I've taken this one just to show you a little bit closer, but it is actually an edible mushroom. If you were to eat it, it's not that easy to get rid of all the dirt. Still, you would not want to actually soak it in water, as it would actually take up all of the water and lose its flavor. Best would be to just take a brush and try to get all of the dirt, all of the moss off of it. Now, I have read in some sources that apparently, especially in the area of the Jura Mountains in Switzerland and France, this mushroom is considered a delicacy and even eaten raw on bread with some butter. I have not eaten them raw. I've had them fried once. I personally am not a big fan of these mushrooms, to be very honest. They have a mild mushroomy flavor. They have a mushroomy smell. Kind of woody. Reminds me a little bit of fresh morels, but a little bit more intense actually. The flavor is very faint though, from my personal experience. Still, some people like to pickle them, or they fry them just for a little less than a minute in oil, and then they would fill them similar to like a pepper bell with whatever you have there. Maybe some scrambled eggs, maybe some vegetables, or whatever you want to put in there.